talking with Jack earlier.
One of the things that he's brought up about his season in particular is consistency. Not necessarily with him, but with any hockey player. If you're able to be consistent and do the same routine, how does that speak more to like how a player is able to stay engaged for an 82-game season when it feels like it's a long grind? Is that a different trait that you can't teach certain players in that instance?
Well, it's self-taught if you're in the league long enough, right? I mean, guys figure out their routine, what they need to do on a daily basis, and then I think there's probably sections of their career where that changes. You know, when you're older, I think it takes longer to get your body ready for practices and games, so you have more stuff going on before practice. When you're younger, a lot of times you show up to the rink, you're a little more wiry, so to speak. The engine gets running quicker, and so I think you learn yourself what it takes, and you learn what your diet needs to be too. What can you handle? What can't you to feel sluggish versus high energy? Your spare time away from the rink. But you do have to figure it out, right? It's a long year and you have to stay at a level. There's a lot of players that play well for stretches early and then they fall off. Usually there's a conditioning issue there or getting your rest, whatever. You can look into it. And the guys that have long careers, they find it, right? Because I don't know if your skill level drops in November versus Jan. You know what I mean? You're obviously doing something where you can't stay at a high level. Now, if you have a good weekend, that's different. But you know what I mean? A guy that has 2 or 3 good months and falls off the second half of the year probably has to look at, what's he doing that second half or the first half that takes away from the second half. So there's a lot of that goes into it for players. And they learn. And that's why some of them have their own chefs, some of them now. I think so much is provided now in today's game for players, but, they just do more. They have their own masseuse, this and that, just for days off. If they don't want to come in, they always have someone around them. And I think that's just because they know how important it is for them to take care of themselves. So that's what happens with a lot of guys nowadays. I mean, they can afford it. They're paid better than they were 30 years ago.
How do you yourself keep consistency as throughout the year? Because obviously this time of year is important.
You mean for our team?
For you, for yourself, for the team, whichever.
Well, our routine, I got to tell you, and coaches, someone told me once when I got into it, in the season, every day is a Monday, and the off season, every day is a Saturday. So we're pretty much used to, like we had a day off yesterday. So, I happened to come in and look at, well, I'll tell you, I looked at Nick Waugh when he last played with Carly and Smitty. It was in the playoffs 2 years ago, because we may use that line. Carly's getting close to being ready, so what do we do with our center iceman? Then I'm still looking at a bit of the Detroit game, and then I'm watching Boston last night a little bit, or late in the afternoon, because we play them next. So I think as coaches, you're always doing something work-related. That's just the nature of the beast. But as for the team, well, you try to have a plan that you use from year to year on rest versus practice, right? And there's going to be some days, like today is a perfect example. Like, should we have just sent the guys away from the rink because it's a long road trip, or do we get out there and work on stuff because we had a day off yesterday, or would the 2 days be better in the long run? You know what I mean? Coaches will do different things, and you got to go with your gut a little bit and what your players tell you. I just felt our execution was off last week too, a little bit in our rush game. So let's work on some touches today, and then we'll revisit Friday. Should that be maybe a better day to say? You know what I mean? So you're always trying to balance it, just use different days. So I try to have the same plan and practice length, etc. Obviously, you're changing things on the fly as your team plays. Some guys will script their whole year. Other guys, it's okay, we're not taking care of our D zone, so we're going to work on D zone for the next week. So yeah, I think you do have to fix as you go, but you do have to have some sort of template to work off in terms of your practice, workout, etc. So that's how I would handle it. I don't know if I'm answering your question or just rambling on, to be honest with you, but that's kind of the way I look at the year. Fix things that need to be fixing right away. You're always going to have a few things that aren't perfect, but if you're constantly fixing too, then you get away from sort of your template of, okay, we got to have pace, we got to have work as the year goes on, drill down on special teams at a certain time, whatever your template is.
Bruce, in your 2.5 years here, you've obviously, the player you have in Mark Stone. I'm wondering, the 2 weeks at Four Nations, is there something when he's skating among the best of the best that impressed you differently as a member of Team Canada, that as an assistant coach, you sat back and observed and watched him? Second part, how the other players reacted to a guy that plays for you.
Well, I think the other players are just taking care of themselves for the most part. We're all kind of thrown together. So I don't think we I think we look at it as we're Team Canada, right? We're together. We're in this for the next 2 weeks and hopefully again in next year at the Olympics. So I don't know if there was anything more than that that went into everyone's mind. How can we get to know each other quickly here and achieve a common goal? I think that's how we all looked at it. For Stoney, the thing that impressed me is he played left wing. I've never seen him play a shift in the left wing here than I've been here or when he was with Ottawa. So he got moved to the left wing with McDavid. He started with McKinnon Crosby and he was going well. They made some adjustments. He ends up in left wing. So that's what can happen in a hurry in one of those short tournaments. You go and play where you're told and you don't have a lot of time to think about it and you're expected to perform. So those are the curveballs the players go through when you throw 20 guys together. And I think that impressed me that Mark was able to handle that no problem because you're taking pucks off the wall, you're handling passes differently on your backhand a lot more. So he didn't miss a beat. And his pace is, I've told everybody he can keep up. Trust me, his brain operates faster than anybody's. And his legs will obviously some days you don't have quite the same burst maybe because your legs are a little rubbery or whatnot, but he had no problem keeping up. And that was always an knock about how's he going to handle the pace? He can handle it just fine because he thinks the game so well. I was way off on my Chiefs pick too, by the way. I'm sorry. I'll own it.
After the Four Nations, you said you knew you needed moments where you're going to have to get rest for the guys who did play. There haven't been any of the missing games. Do you think they are going to have to take games off moving forward?
Well, that was discussed whether we have the luxury of taking games off. I think we talked about the cap and the roster size, et cetera, and their willingness to, and they don't want to. We gave them that whole, every time we practiced that week, we had, Chicago, Vancouver we started with, and then we had Monday was LA, Chicago, somebody. I don't think they practiced after the LA game, just showed up for games. So we tried to build some in. I think there's still going to be a little bit of a residual effect. How long it lasts, I don't know. If they come to me in the next stretch of time and they need days off, we are getting healthier, then we'd have to consider it. I don't know if we can do it at the same time. That would be so how does that muck up your team too, right? Like we're trying to finish first here. So we have to balance that too. And that's the part that I think every coach that had a player there or two or three like we did or four, that's a challenge. It really is.
With Carlson looking like he's coming back fairly soon, did it really come down to just Waugh versus Howden as who's better at center, who's better at wing? Like what went into that decision? No,
a little bit of we have Mark Stone and Coley that are basically right shots. So who can play their offside? We've seen Pav over there, Riley Smith's been there, but is that how the lines how we wanted the lines to look? I think Nick moving to the right was a good choice for us in terms of he shoots right. He did play in the playoff series against Dallas with Carly. I didn't know if he'd ever played center with Riley Smith, but they played together as a threesome in the Edmonton series. So that's what it came down to, just an easier fit, maybe. Simple as that for the lines we wanted to have. I've liked Howie in the middle. He's been really good there. He's a different player than Nick. They're still north-south players, but a little different way to get there. He's been good with Coley and Barbashev. Said all along, Barbie and Jack and Stoney will probably find their way together. So is Pierce a good fit to sort of give you that same flavor of forecheck, straight line? We'll find out because what we practice with today, we're trending for Thursday. A lot of it depends on Carly's health. He traveled with us to get some practice time in. He has not been cleared and wasn't on the trip. We didn't anticipate he'd play, but we needed to get him involved with the players and the team. So now, having got some of those reps under him, hopefully he's closer on Thursday. We'll know. I'll give you, because I know that'll be a question, and we'll have a better idea probably Thursday morning or at least after tomorrow's practice.
Got to see Shea Theodore back out in a red jersey today. His status?
Good. He's doing well. Been skating on his own. He thought he'd try to integrate with us and do a couple drills. He made it through the whole practice, so obviously he's feeling better from his injury. Still in a red jersey, so until he can take contact, we won't really worry about when he'll be in the lineup. But as I said, the closer he gets with us, the better off he'll be. I don't think it would be this week, but who knows? That's the medical team. Lavoie was out there too. He's a day-to-day guy for us. So it was a big numbers out there. I'm not used to that many guys out there, to be honest. So it was good. That's a good thing.
Bruce, UNLV hockey playing for a national championship tonight, team that shares the arena. Just curious, if you were in their dressing room before the game, what would be the message for the skating?
I actually had a little chat with them before I left, just to wish them all the best. I mean, they've been close. The Vegas Knights that were close, and a couple of years ago they got it done. So we talked a bit about our journey. So what I said, we'll stay in that locker room, and hopefully they get it done, because they're right there knocking at the door. I'm sure it was really nothing I said. They've been through it before. It's more about now taking that final step. I think yesterday, was it yesterday they played, or 2 days? They were down 2-0, right? And there was some conversation about that. It's never perfect. It's never pretty the whole way. I think that'll really give them a lot of juice, personally, to be able to come back like that. Now you start to think, well, that was probably. They could look back and say that was the toughest part of their whole thing, and maybe it's behind them. I don't want to disrespect the team they're playing, because I know they won last year. So anyway, hopefully they bring their best and get a break or two along the way and bring it home.